For the News and Observer, I'm Dawn Vaughan, Capitol Bureau Chief and host of Under the Dome, and you're listening to our latest episode for the week of November 20th, 2023, or if you weren't listening Thanksgiving week, you're listening November 27th, 2023. We're going to take a break of recording Thanksgiving week, so this will have to last you 2 weeks, so we're going to pack a lot into it. I'm here today with my colleagues, Bajpai and Kyle Ingram from our politics team, and we're going to look ahead to the primary elections. Filing hasn't even started yet. It's coming soon, but there are people that have been in the race forever. If you think about Josh Stein running for governor, Mark Robinson running for governor, and some people that are just getting in or out. So the latest news as we're recording this is State Representative Tricia Cotham, the Republican who switched from Democrat, has decided what she's doing, confirmed for her future. So, Ivy, you had just written about that.
Yeah, pretty big news right now as of the time when we're recording. Tricia Cotham, she switched parties. She delivered Republicans the last seat they needed, the 72nd seat in the House to have a supermajority. And basically, as soon as she switched, there were a slew of veto overrides. Republicans defeated 19 of Governor Cooper's vetoes this session, which is pretty remarkable. So, we were able to confirm that Representative Cotham, she's going to run for re-election from this new recently redrawn district in southeastern Mecklenburg County, which leans more conservative. It has her hometown of Mint Hill. It has parts of Matthews, but it's House District 105. So she plans to run for re-election, which is kind of notable because there has been intense speculation since April about her future. So,
and that district leans Republican, but it's still pretty competitive, right?
It's not. I don't think it's a sure thing. It's 52% leaning Republican, 45% Democratic. So it's not a blowout race. Right. It's fairly competitive, but it's still a Republican leaning district in Mecklenburg County, which is pretty remarkable.
I think when she switched parties, everybody thought, well, what is she gonna? She's definitely not going to win re-election as a Republican in that same district. So they knew that the state lawmakers would draw her either a favorable House district or if she wanted to run for Congress. And it looked like that path was there if she had wanted to run in one of those southern districts. But that would have been a much harder fight, yes. I think, because she's got to not only convince Republicans to vote, Republicans who remember when she was a Democrat and maybe didn't like that she used to be a Democrat. And in a primary, if there was someone that they felt was more Republican, longtime Republican that they could have had instead, and then just whatever, the attacks during a general, I think.
Well, there could still be a conservative primary opponent in this legislative race as well, but I mean, considering it's Mecklenburg, they might want a more moderate Republican, but I think that we could definitely see something competitive there as well.
Seems like her biggest issue, even when she was a Democrat just these past few years, has been school choice, which is kind of that catch-all phrase for supporting charter school expansions, which of course are publicly funded schools but don't have the same rules as traditional public schools, and then the opportunity scholarships for private schools, which was probably her big political win, I'd say, this session. Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. That's something that she was kind of made like the face of that whole project, that whole effort.
And she wanted to.
Yeah. But leadership kind of was happy to let her kind of be the face of that and champion that cause for Republican voters. So as far as they're concerned, that was a fairly big legislative win for them.
That might be the highest profile named state house or Senate race that we've seen so far. Of course, it's so early. What do you all think?
I mean, I think it'll be very interesting to see what happens with Terrence Everett. He's in a much more competitive district now. Of course, he raised the ire of House Speaker Tim Moore after calling for an investigation to alleged sexual favors. And since then, he's been moved to a basement office and drawn into a much more competitive district. So that'll be fun, interesting to watch.
And we've got, even as you all are listening to this, we record this on Friday and you're listening Monday, or if you're listening a week later, over the weekend even, people decide before Thanksgiving what they're going to do with their future, if they decide to run for something else or retire or run again, or maybe they're going to wait until they're full of turkey or whatever they eat on Thursday and then make that final decision right when, there's a week between Thanksgiving and filing. So that really is like, it's time, I mean, you do have the 2-week filing period, but if you haven't made your decision.
Want to have some clarity by the time filing starts of what they're going to do. So.
And I think their opponents too, right? I mean, if you're in the same party and you see, like we saw with Speaker Moore when he was going to run for Congress last time, that, you know, you see how you're about to announce and then you're like, oh no, wait, I'm not doing that. And then wait for another time. So, you know, someone could be wanting to go file and get in the race December 5th, and then December 4th, they find out or I don't remember which day filing starts, the 4th or 5th.
It's the 4th.
You know, on the 4th that someone else that they don't think they could beat, you know, got in. And
We've just in the last couple of days, we've had lots of more names coming out for congressional races. There's some murmurings and some news about legislative races, maybe some retirements that we can expect. So the next 2 weeks or so is going to be a pretty intense period because you're going to have a lot of people confirming what their plans are, and it's going to shape up what the congressional races are going to look like, how many open seats there are going to be in the House and Senate, the General Assembly. So lots of news to come.
well, let's turn from legislative and congressional races to Council of State, which is, other than the governor and maybe lieutenant governor and attorney generals, kind of a quiet governing body. They have these monthly meetings. They cancel them half the time. The meetings are 5 minutes, and then they go around the table, and that's usually where the news is or whatever they say after. But Council of State, which isn't even a phrase that's in other states, is really like a lot. It's the governor, lieutenant governor is, it's that bully pulpit job. It looks like maybe Rachel Hunt is the Democratic frontrunner. We'll see. On the Republican side, maybe Deanna Ballard. Both of them, have this reputation in the Senate with education being a big thing for them. That might be a big deal. Of course, the Attorney General's race.
Yeah.
And then further down ballot, people that are on Council of State that a lot of North Carolinians may not even realize are elected or exist as statewide roles. There's state auditor, which actually is very newsy this year, and insurance commissioner. So let's start first with incumbent insurance commissioner Mike Causey. I had just done with Avi another round of our roundup of who's running, who's not, which always changes when people come and go. And Causey is in. He told me the other day that he had announced it already to supporters, I think in Randolph County at an event. And he said, I'll put out a formal announcement and release once the filing period starts. But Kyle, tell listeners why Causey has been a focus of attention lately.
Yeah, we at the NNO have been doing a lot of reporting on Mike Causey lately. Our colleague Dan Kane had a series of stories that came out a few weeks ago looking at how when Causey came into office, he reshaped all of these regional districts that exist within the Department of Insurance, gave a lot of the positions to political allies. One job was given to a political rival that appeared to be a make-work job where the employee himself said he did almost nothing for several years, but collected a paycheck from the department. And most recently, Causey fired 3 of the top fire officials in the Office of State Fire Management, or Office of the State Fire Marshal, my apologies, because there has been this ongoing fight between the department and the legislature regarding the role of the state fire marshal. Since, I believe, the late 1940s in North Carolina, the insurance commissioner has always, by right, held the role of state fire marshal as well. But there was a bill filed this legislative session to make that independent. And that kicked off this fight between Causey and the legislature.
It seems like it's less the agency in the legislature and Mike Causey in the legislature, which, if people don't know, Causey is a Republican and the legislature is run by Republicans. So it's a within the party fight, essentially.
Well, that bill ended up going nowhere, but that similar language got put into the state budget. So it still ended up happening that now the state fire marshal is an independent job. Causey himself has relished in that aspect of the insurance commissioner position. He's visited fire departments all across the state and made that an integral part of his campaigns, and now it's a role he can't hold anymore. So after that happened, he fired what was meant to be his replacement. There was legislation spelling out who would become acting state fire marshal, and that individual was fired by Causey, but then later reinstated by legislation passed at the very end of the session. So it's been a little...
So also Auditor Beth Wood, who you've heard the long engaging saga over this past year. Last week, she was my headliner. We had a local government episode, and I mentioned that she said that she's actually resigning next month, not just not running again. We've got to take a quick break. We'll talk a little bit more about Beth Wood, some about Republican gubernatorial primary candidate Bill Graham, and then move on to our picks for headliner of the week. We'll be right back.
Score more with the college-branded Venmo debit card and earn up to 5% cash back with Venmo Stash. Got paid back? With the Venmo debit card, you can instantly access your balance and spend on what you want, like game day snacks, gear, tickets, and more. The more you do, the more cash back you can earn. Plus, there's no monthly fee or minimum balance. Sign up now at Venmo.com/collegecard. The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A. Select schools available. Venmo Stash terms and exclusions apply at venmo.me/stash terms. Max $100 cash back per month.
So good, so good, so good.
New spring arrivals are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. Get ready to save big with up to 60% off Rag & Bone, Marc Jacobs, Free People, and more.
How did I not know Rack has Adidas?
Because there's always something new.
Join the Nordy Club to unlock exclusive discounts, shop new arrivals first, and more. Plus, buy online and pick up at your favorite Rack store for free. Great brands, great prices. That's why you Rack.
You're listening to Under the Dome. I'm Capitol Bureau Chief Dawn Vaughan, here with Kyle Ingram and Avi Bajpai from our, almost like reversed her name for our politics team, and I'm Von Dawn, so it could go the same way, right? And Ingram Kyle. So if you're listening to this before you enjoy Thanksgiving, however you observe that with a large group, small group, turkey, whatever, or the week after, again, I mentioned at the top of the show, we'll be taking Thanksgiving week off, so this is your 2-week jam-packed, stuffed, full, if you will.
Stuffed,
yeah. Okay. Do you like that?
Yeah.
And election episode. So before the break, we're talking a little bit about Beth Wood. Avi, quickly, where things stand with that role in the race.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning that's one of there are several open council of state races on the ballot next year, which is I don't know. I think that's doesn't happen every election cycle. There are 5 candidates on the Republican side. There's 1 declared candidate on the Democratic side. But also it's worth mentioning, the Beth Wood story has gone on this entire year. But one of the recurring themes has been she, up until whatever happened this year with, hit and run and all that stuff, her alleged misuse of of her state car, she has still enjoyed very sort of she's highly regarded by people on both sides of the aisle. And that's something we saw at Council of State this past week. People going around, Council of State members, Treasurer Falwell, Attorney General Stein, some other people too, bipartisan, everyone wishing her well and saying they, wanted to thank her for her service. So that's just an interesting undercurrent to all this. You never really saw over the course of this past year too much criticism from, high-ranking people in state government. But anyways, we're going to talk about Bill Graham, who is one of the Republicans running for governor, and you've been doing some reporting on Bill Graham.
Yeah, we're talking about some down ballot things. I think your ballot names are rearranged. However, there's not an order, but as far as like name recognition, other than it's like Billy Graham without the Y, Bill Graham does not have the name recognition in the Republican primary for governor that certainly Mark Robinson does, at least if you look at polling. If people pay attention to Dale Falwell's long service as treasurer, and then he's been in the legislature also. Bill Graham ran for governor before in the primary in 2008 and lost to McCrory, and then McCrory lost to Bev Perdue. But, the political world, you come and go and circle around again. So Graham is well known where he's from in Salisbury in Rowan County because he owns a lot of property there, and he's also on the board of trustees for Catawba College, which is this small private school. And what I had written about is looking at the property he owns. While he was on the board of trustees, he bought 3 properties from the college. The college says he didn't vote on it. He abstained from the vote, but it was still while he was in this leadership governing position on the school. And the way I say obtained and not necessarily all bought is because 2 of the properties were free, and it was a land swap. So he had a 2-story house near campus that was upfitted into a small residence hall, and they in turn traded to pretty modest, I'd say smaller than a ranch house that he has. And his campaign said that he turns the income from those properties over to the college. But, you know, this is a private school. That makes it a little bit different. If it's public, the trustees aren't appointed by the legislature. The taxpayer money, obviously, it's not a taxpayer-funded public school. They don't have to provide public records, right, that I could request or anything. And it took a while to get a lot of responses. I gave them a lot of time. I gave Catawba College a lot of time, I mean, at least a week, several days of back and forth. Ingram's campaign to talk about and explain what this was, you know, and then, of course, you know, included comments from others on, you know, what does this mean? Like, you're running to be the face of the state, really, and you own properties and got a deal while you were on a governing board for college, and you need to explain that. So that's basically what the story was. We will move on to our picks for headliner of the week. Kyle, who or what is your headliner of the week?
So one of our favorite press corps colleagues, Hannah Schoenbaum from the Associated Press, is unfortunately leaving North Carolina, so we're going to miss her a lot, but she is going to cover state government in Utah as the AP state government reporter. So we'll miss you, Hannah, but good luck.
All right. And Avi, who or what is your headliner of the week? I actually already know what it is, but y'all listening don't know, but it'll be fun for the audio part of this. And it is about Council of State and what happened after from a different press corps colleague of ours, this question.
Yeah, this is something that everyone listening out there can practice when they're at home with their families for Thanksgiving. But my headliner is realizing that everyone in North Carolina politics, perhaps everyone in the press corps, has been mispronouncing Governor Cooper's name for quite a long time. We found out this week that Governor Cooper, back in Nash County, where he's from, originally his pronunciation of his last name is not Cooper, it's more like Cooper. Cooper? It's something that we're still struggling with.
His guidance was to say the word foot and then pronounce Coop the way you pronounce that.
But our press corps colleague, Travis Fain of WRAL, who wrote about this and taught to pose this question to the governor, I think he had better guidance. He said it rhymes with cooker, so that's what I've been doing.
Cooper.
Just keep saying cooker.
Cooper. So we are talking in the NNO newsroom. When the politics team is all here, we like to joke around and have some fun together. And we are all trying different ways. And my attempt, suddenly I changed it to like it's a Boston accent or it's Koopa.
Yeah.
And so I definitely can't do it.
But Kyle reminded us that it's not a soft R. So, yeah.
Koopa. I mean, that sounds more fun, I guess. And the thing is, I mean, Roy Cooper, that's how he says his name. Yeah. He doesn't say, by the way, I'm Governor
Cooper. Yeah.
Cooper Joe. All right. My headliner of the week is what's top of mind, to use a phrase that everyone in NC Pol likes saying about high-profile thoughts, I guess. And that's Thanksgiving. So thankful for my politics team colleagues, Kyle and Avi and Luciana and Corey, our editor Jordan, our podcast producers, Laura Brache and Kevin Keister, who are behind the scenes that you don't always see, and everyone that's Caitlin McEwen, who is also one of our video journalists, and everyone involved in this. So anyway, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. And again, you'll hear from us a little bit later, just in time to talk more about candidates filing. Mm-hmm. So we'll talk to you soon. Happy holidays, everybody. I'm Dawn Vaughan for Avi Bajpai, Kyle Ingram, News and Observer. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
For more from our politics team, subscribe to the News and Observer at newsobserver.com/subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at Under the Dome and NC Insider, and sign up for our weekly political newsletter, also called Under the Dome, at newsobserver.com/newsletters. Thanks for listening.